This video will provide an overview of the DE course shell. The first thing you will notice when you go into the course shell is that you start out on the announcements page. There is a mock-up of an example welcome message that you may use as is or edit. If you do decide to use it, please make sure that you edit the bracketed information to align with your course and your personal expectations and contact information. The next thing that you need to do is go to the contact section and make sure that you have put your email address and specific information about when you are available. You also want to include the contact information for your department chair. The contact information for distance education is already provided. The next major section of the course is the Start Here menu. In that, you will find a link to this overview, which is linked to the Resources for Instructors section. And you will find a link to the course shell update checklist, which you can download or print out and use to verify that you have updated all parts of the course shell. There will be a template, a current ADA compliant syllabus template available to you, and then there are several folders. Anything that is in here can be edited, but some of the links to course, or CCCC web pages and certain information like Title X and academic honesty and those types of things should not be replaced. But if you see information in brackets, you can update it, and there'll be you will be able to update the orientation to match and align with the expectations for your own course. So let's start with the orientation. There are some instructions here that tell you what to do in each section. You're not limited to having 8 steps. You can add steps, you can take steps away. However, please make sure that if you do make edits, that you edit the course tour to represent what how your course is structured. So if you have certain buttons or certain content areas, you would want to make sure that you explain that. And you could even do that in a video instead of in written form. Make sure that you have updated your syllabus. In the Start Here menu, it's already linked to the syllabus link so that you don't have to do anything to this. It's already linked. You just need to make sure that you have updated the syllabus template. Step 3 are the expectations, and in brackets, you need to make sure that you edit those so that you are very clear about how you will be counting participation and attendance in the course. In step 4, it's a good idea to let students practice using tools that they'll be using all the time. So here are a couple examples. If you feel like they need to practice sending you an email, you could have them practice sending you an email. If you need them to practice using the discussion board, you could have them, this could be where you assign the icebreaker discussion forum assignment. Or if there are other things that you want them to practice that are specific to your curriculum. Step 5, this is where you would maybe include important dates for the course, maybe a sheet of due dates, or you could do it, type it in the item here. And then in step 6, you won't need to change this. This is all the college contact information. In step 7, this is library resources for distance students, so you don't need to mess with that. And then in step 8, you need to have some kind of assignment that's graded that they will do in order to be counted for the census date as enrolling into the course. So in the past, we have had orientation quizzes. It is good to have a syllabus quiz or orientation quiz, but you may choose to have some other type of assignment. So this step 8 would be a place where you could put an orientation quiz and or some other enrollment assignment so that you can use that completion date as the enrollment date for the census report. Returning back to the Start Here menu, there are a few other folders that you'll want to take time to update. If you choose to have them go through the academic integrity tutorial, you can unhide this and make sure it's clear in your syllabus and expectations that they are to go through and complete the tutorial. But for right now, it's hidden. The next folder are your specific course policies. So if you look at that, there are some instructor directions that remind you what to do. You have a link to the academic calendar. You have an item where you can insert specific information about how often you check your email, what an expected response time would be for students to expect to get a response from you. And if you use some kind of specific app or some other way to contact or that you prefer, you can put that information here. And you can reinforce your contact information here as well. There is a list of suggested netiquette rules. You can certainly use your own, but these are just a general set. You can maybe include your students in coming up with a list and adding to this, or you can create your own list specific to issues in your own course. Course participation needs to be updated so that you are specifically telling them how many times they need to log in each week and how many assignments they can miss before they've missed 20% of the course. And then the grading policy. You want to give very specific descriptions of how their grade is determined, and we suggest that you give an example final grade calculation. You have a link to the student's rights and responsibilities, a link to the Title X, and a link to the academic honesty. Those don't need to be changed. Continuing through the Start Here menu, we have a link to all the college resources and technical support information. It's very important that you don't get rid of these because this allows students to have one location where they can go to find all the resources that they may need to help them throughout the semester, academic and otherwise. So there's information on how to log in or get information if they're having problems logging in. There's a link to the free downloads of software that they can have by being students at CCCC. Blackboard tutorials for those students who are familiar with the LMS. Once again, we've got a link to the library services and even a link to chat with a librarian. We have a link to the Family and Educational Rights Privacy Act, free student services, College Success Center, Career Center, and Academic Center, and CCCC Cares. And most importantly, what you would want to do here is if you have any information for students on how to get technical help for the publisher material they're using or any software they're using, any content that you're using that they may have technical problems with, you should find the technical support information so that they will be able to address their issues with that publisher when they need to. And you can always point them there instead of you having to look it up and then send it to them in an email. So in this folder, that's the most important part of the folder for you to change. And then we have a link to how to be successful in the course. There's a quiz they can take to see if they're ready for online education. There's a list of suggested technical skills that you can add to. Student success resources, all our student success resources we have at the college. specific course requirements. So if there's something specific that's required here, some kind of software or a lab box or something, you might want to include that and update that. And then an assignment completion guide, which is not the due dates, but it gives specific information on how to complete certain types of assignments. Like if they are going to be participating in discussions, you may want to include information about participation in those discussions. If they are going to turn in certain types of assignments and you want them formatted a certain way, this is where you could provide that information. And then you also might consider putting in the grading rubrics for specific types of projects or assignments that you'll have during the semester here, so that they can have quick and easy access to rubrics that they can download. Although it is important to note that you can build rubrics into Blackboard as well. But if you want to provide a paper or document form of the rubric, this is a good place to add that. And then finally, the additional courses, specific resources. This is where you would put all the accessibility documentation, privacy statements for any software that you're using. So for example, we've already put in the Blackboard accessibility documentation and Blackboard's privacy statement, and Blackboard Ally, which is our accessibility checker. We put in the accessibility documentation for it as well. So if you're using publisher content, like WebAssign or Mastering or something, Pearson or something like that, then this would be a place to put that information. And you can definitely contact the instructional designers in the Center of Academic Excellence to help you with that. So that basically covers the Start Here menu. The next section that you'll want to do is start building your course content. So we have an example module for you, and in parentheses here, you are asked to give a description, a nice title, a descriptive title. You do not have to call this module or unit. You can call it chapter. Doesn't matter what you call your content folders, but you're going to want to separate your content into chunks of information. A lot of people do 8 modules or 16 modules, and you can call them whatever you like. We chose module, but you can definitely change the name of what the unit is. Do need to give a descriptor of what that unit will cover. When you open it up, you have some brief guidelines, things to consider as you build your module. You should include measurable objectives that use action verbs related to Bloom's taxonomy to let students know exactly what they will be able to do after they've reviewed the content, practiced it, and completed the assignments in this module. Then you will give an overview of what's happening. We suggest that you specifically tell students what they're doing for reading and practicing and what is graded. You may refer them to a due date calendar in the orientation, or you may actually put the due dates in right here for them. Either way, make sure that it's clear when things are due. And then you're going to add various practice activities and graded assignments. If you want to have some help with designing your module, contact the instructional designers at the Center of Academic Excellence, or you can go to the next section here, Resources for Instructors. This is a Resources for Instructors folder or section of the course that contains training that you may find useful as you are learning how and thinking about how to design your course. There's a lesson on planning your online course, which goes over how to write objectives and how to start thinking about how to align those objectives. There is a lesson on setting your students up for success that talks specifically about building a strong orientation. There's a lesson on how to pick and choose activities that actively engage your student. And then there's a lesson on how to promote persistence, which talks about feedback and talks about um, promoting yourself and providing a strong instructor presence. There's also a lot of discussion in these lessons about creating accessible documents and videos. So there is a link to the VLC Accessibility in Courses page, which has a lot of information on it and tutorials. And then this template also refers to creating rubrics in Blackboard. So there is a lesson on how to create rubrics in Blackboard. There is a quick start video guide to Allies so that you'll know how to use Ally to help check to see if your materials are accessible. And then there's a link to the Center of Academic Excellence page. Right now it goes to the Center of Academic Excellence page, but very soon it will link to the actual instructional design page. And this is where you will be able to send in a request for assistance from our instructional designers to help you with the development of your course. There are also a link to the discussion board, there's a link to the calendar, there's a link to My Grades, and there's a link to CCCC Cares. If you have any questions about the course shell, please contact the instructional designers at the Center of Academic Excellence.